just to make it, but everything that's within your grasp, you gotta take it, you gotta go harder, just dig deeper inside you to find that method, that mode that wants that hunger to survive, just to ride the grind, to take it the way you gotta take it and never stop. I came to win, yeah, I came to win. I came to win, yeah, I came to win. I came to win, yeah, I came to win. Can't no one stop me, yeah, bring it in. I came to win, yeah, I came to win. Top down, faded windows tinted. Push it with it, push it to the limit.
Hello, hello, how's everyone doing? Welcome to Life After High School with Entrepreneurs.
Hello, everyone. We are so excited for y'all to join us tonight. Our Life After High School series is something that we started earlier this semester. It's been a really dope time. Today we have panelists from different entrepreneur ventures here to talk with our students. And really we created this series so that our students could get a background and hear from Black professionals from different areas and backgrounds about different ventures they can take after they are finished with their high school career. I'm going to introduce Dio. He is our student moderator for tonight. Dio is a sophomore at Monte Vista High School in Cupertino. Dio serves as the president for the Black Student Union, and he is the captain of his school's track and field team.
I'm going to introduce Ms. Sinclair Lee. Ms. Sinclair Lee has been a facilitator with ASP for 2 years. She became an ASP facilitator because she's passionate about uplifting young Black voices, and she hopes to continue her career in education. All right, first panelist, we have Miss Nina Sylvains.
Hello, hello. How are you? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. We're good. How are you? I am so sorry.
No worries.
Nina is a driven small business owner who's partners with her husband in their construction company and property management firm, as well as various real estate investments. Together, they excel in crafting quality structures and efficiently managing rental properties, showcasing a blend of passion and expertise in their entrepreneur ventures. Thank you, Nina, for being here tonight.
Thank you for the invite. I'm really excited. Glad to be here.
Okay, panelist number 2, we have James Black.
What's going on, guys? How you guys doing?
We're doing great. Great to hear from you.
Dio, real quick question. What event do you do in track and field?
I do long jump, triple jump, and high jump.
Come on, man. I did triple jump, too. Let's go. There it is. Yes, glad to be here with y'all.
Great to have you. James Black is an entertainment executive at a nonprofit.
Next up, we have Trey Jenkins. The majority of Trey's career has been in the business of sports. He has worked for Madison Square Garden, the Golden State Warriors, and most recently the Atlanta Falcons. Outside of his 9-to-5, Trey focuses on running Equity, a startup focused on real estate and raising private capital.
Super excited to be speaking with you all. Looking forward to talking more soon.
All right, next panelist, we have Dr. Ishman Anderson, who is a professor and executive director of nonprofit at My Older Brother.
Hey, what's happening, everybody? Thank y'all for bringing me on. Super duper excited to be here and share some of the knowledge and the stuff that we're building on, and looking forward to pouring it into the youth, and just looking forward to just working in general. So thank you again for having me.
Blessed to have you, sir.
Our next panelist is Siani Jackson, a creative at heart. Siani's entrepreneurial spirit paired with her keen sense of style and drive to share cultural statements, making fashion led to her birth of Sick Apparel. Sick is an apparel accessories company rooted in the celebration of Black culture. Oh, you're muted, Siani.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I'm also super excited to be here. So look forward to pouring a little bit of knowledge, sprinkling some out to the youth.
And finally, we have Dr. Mary Hemphill, CEO and founder of Limitless Leader.
So excited to be here, everyone. My background is in education, so this is just such an honor to be able to speak to you all. So can't wait to pour into and add some value to the conversation.
Thankful to have you. Okay, question number 1 is for Ms. Sylvains. What is it like being a Black woman working in property management and rental investments?
Well, I would say first, it's fun. It's fun because I really get to make my own schedule with it. For the most part, in the property management and investing side, you can make your own schedule, but the challenging part, I would say, is sometimes people not always taking me seriously. Like they want to talk to the person in charge, and I'm like, that's me, you know. So it's fun. Some things can be challenging. In the real estate investing part, something that was really challenging and is still challenging for me is building that capital. So sometimes you can't always go the traditional routes in investing in real estate. So you have to, in traditional would be like going to the bank, getting a loan, and buying a property and or paying for it outright in cash. Sometimes those avenues aren't always available, so you have to take other routes that can sometimes take a little longer to get to where you're going. But all in all, in the industry, I would say that it's really fun. And you can just like be yourself. I don't have to code switch in this industry because it's there are a lot of different people in it, and so anybody can do it. It's a really fun industry to be a part of, and it can help generate generational wealth. So that's the part that I really like.
Love that. Thank you.
Our next question is for Jay Black. In your bio, you kind of mentioned a bunch of things, but one of the things that stood out to me was how you've worked with celebrity clients. Can you tell us kind of what that experience has been like for you? And just any other thoughts you have on working in the entertainment industry, especially as a Black man.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And just to clarify, so I started after I graduated from undergrad, I started working in the music industry, and I'm from LA, Los Angeles, and growing up in LA, a lot of times we are connected to different, you might grow up with a celebrity or somebody who's an executive in the entertainment space. So for me, having started off in music, I found out pretty quickly that because LA is one of the entertainment capitals of the world, I started getting requests to be involved in different television projects or film projects. The Clippers would reach out to me if they needed some artists to perform, or the Lakers, or the various entertainment sectors would I would be on call for them. So it's been a blessing for me. And even as it pertains to working with celebrities, it's I know a lot of times the stigma is that it's all fun and games all the time, but the reality of it is, to be able to be successful inside of the entertainment business, I'll say, you have to be very detail oriented. You have to be on your job, always paying attention, always knowing the new trends, and being very intentional about separating yourself from you know, I don't want to say competition, but just, you know, allowing your uniqueness to shine and let people see what makes you different from everyone else. You know, a lot of people want to be a star. They want to be in film, TV, and music, and, you know, they like the attention. But, you know, the reality of it is, especially when you're in an industry that's overly saturated, there has to be something special about you that, you know, people won't forget you and that makes you stick out. For me, I've always, you know, carried myself with integrity, and that's something that absolutely has been a competitive advantage for me because I'm a very honest person and I try to be fair. I'm shrewd, but at the same time, you know, I try to be truthful in all of my dealings. So for me, it's been everything has its ups and downs, but it's been a blessing for me being involved in the entertainment industry.
Thank you for all that dope knowledge.
Okay, next question is for Mr. Trey Jenkins. All right. What's it like being a Black man promoting financial literacy and making wealth more accessible to the community?
Promoting financial literacy. And what was the second part?
Promoting financial literacy and making wealth more accessible to the community.
Yeah, great question. I think the big thing with promoting financial literacy is that you see that there aren't many of us in this space. But when I talk to people of other cultures, there seems to be a consistent understanding of wealth, a consistent understanding of here's how we win at this game of life. Going from students who understand this or children who understand like, hey, my grandfather had a business and I can do whatever through school because I can just fall back on them. So I think there's a cultural element that I've seen from an early age, and I'm seeing it even more now as an adult. And then the second part was, remind me of the second part of that.
Second part was, and what's it like making wealth more accessible to the community?
Oh, I love this. I love this. I look at any opportunity to really just understand what's behind it, whether that's something that might be political and it might not make sense. Typically, when you go back to the dollars and really see who's making money from this or who's getting leverage from this, it really answers questions. So just understanding, you know, just basic finance, it's opened up my eyes to a number of things. It's opened up how I like to connect with different people and who I align in my life. So it's changed my life drastically.
All right, to build on that, can you share any significant experiences from working in the sports industry?
Yeah. So I've been working in the sports industry for the last 8 to 10 years, NBA, NFL. I'm working with the Atlanta Falcons now. I'd say the biggest thing is just from a network perspective, I meet a lot of people pretty much each day, each week. We have a lot of people that are coming into the stadium. So each opportunity is a way to either make new business opportunities for me outside of my 9 to 5, or within the 9 to 5 that opens up doors within my current employer. So it's been great all around.
All right, thank you, sir. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Our next question is for Dr. Ish. Dr. Ish, we are wondering, what is it like running a program that is run specifically for Black students?
You know, more so, not just running a program, but being the CEO of the program and starting the program from scratch, from grassroots, you know, as a student club at CSU East Bay, and then trickling down to the streets, you know, hitting up East Oakland, hitting up West Oakland, working with Black males, Black females, having a fiscal sponsor, for those that don't know what that is, somebody else that sort of sponsors you as far as being able to receive grants and things like that. And then learning the ropes of the game to the point to where you're ready to get your own 501c3. And I'm just mentioning all that because that's all been part of the process. But what's that like, right? Running an organization and being what people would deem as a leader. It's just like being like a quarterback of a football team, or being like a CEO of a hip hop record label, right? So in other words, what I mean is that whether I want to admit it or not, the success of the program is going to be looked at as me, right? So when things are going well, right, when you're a quarterback on a football team, you know, the quarterback's going to look good if you're winning, right? But if you happen to lose, we're going to look at the quarterback also. So it's the same thing when you're a CEO, right? A lot of the success is sort of driven, even though I have a team, I have a board of directors, all that type of stuff, but even them, they're still looking for me to be the face of the program, right? So that could be nerve-wracking, but it's also empowering because it's something that I created on my own, and something that maybe folks would think I did not have to do, right? From going to UCLA, UC Davis football scholarship, playing football. I had a job, right, as an EOP counselor at first, but I didn't like people telling me I couldn't dress a certain way or I got to take my beanie off or like stupid shit like that. It just didn't make sense because I'm here to serve students, and none of those image frameworks had anything to do with the impact I was having on youth that came from my background. So I figured that I needed to create something on my own, which gave me a little bit more leverage, right, and things like that. So, but that comes with the territory as part of the process. Anyone who's going to be a leader of anything, you have to accept everything that comes with that. And when you're a leader, when things are great, they're great, and when things are struggles, then they're just struggles. So that I would say that's what it's like running an organization. And as far as the Black youth component, it's very, very important. We work with inner city, low income Black youth from the neighborhood. Our main headquarters is Castlemont High School, Deep East Oakland. I'm a West Oakland guy, went to Climates, and we're trying to get my high school back also and bridge the gap between West Oakland and East Oakland. That is it just feels revolutionary, to be honest with you. You know, and just the way we do the work, our approach to the work, which is a very for us, by us framework, where we do things the way that we think it needs to be done, as opposed to the institution, right? So sometimes there may be contradictions, right? Like maybe the way that a student talks or how they carry themselves is something that we affirm and we privilege in our organization, but maybe the teachers at the school may not like it that way, right? So sometimes it's these sort of these sort of battles, and as a person that runs an organization that works with Black youth that have a hood identity, sometimes I find myself almost like trying to be a bridge for both, right? Like I'm trying to translate to the or not translate, I should say, try to teach our kids how to navigate these school systems that are kind of anti them in some regards, to be honest. But then also trying to also teach these institutions how to appropriately work with our population so they can get the best outcomes for our students. So all that stuff goes into the realm of being a leader and working with Black youth and running your own organization.
Thank you, Dr. Ish, for that. I think we're going to move into another question, Dio.
Yes. Next, we have Miss Siani Jackson. All right. How did you come up with the name Sick Apparel? I've been dying to know.
Oh, okay. Well, I am very intentional in all things that I do. So when choosing a name for my business, I really wanted to make sure it was something that was special and that would be memorable and something that I would not get bored of for years to come, because I tend to. So Sick, C-I-K, are the initials of my children, Coy, Isley, and Caden. And I chose to use their initials for my business because not only did I create the business for myself, but I also created it for them to show them that they can follow their dreams and they can, whatever they set their minds to, that they can achieve it. Even if it may not be successful, they can still give it their all, and try again if it doesn't work.
I love that. Was there an aha moment that inspired your brand?
Oh gosh. So I, like many other entrepreneurs, started my business during COVID. I was walking down the streets of Oakland, downtown Oakland specifically, and I was just so inspired by all of the murals and the art that had been painted on all of the boarded up buildings. So I've always been creative, but just seeing other creatives come together to change up something that should have been such an eyesore and so ugly and make it beautiful really inspired me to create. And I created a jacket and I posted it on Instagram, and people were like, "Oh, I like that. I like that." So that is kind of where the brand came from. I always want to support my culture and show us that we can, put on for our culture and be proud of our culture and do it stylishly, because I had to add my own little touch to it. So we are definitely rooted in the celebration of Black culture, and we have some things for the allies too, but the root of Sick Apparel is celebration of our culture.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
And lastly, we have a question for Dr. Mary Hemphill.
Hi, so glad to be here with you all.
We are so glad to have you. How has your wealth of experience as a former teacher, administrator, and author influenced your leadership development and helped you to run and create a successful business?
This is such a good question. When I really start to think about the fact that I call myself an edupreneur, and I was very intentional about that because I feel as if the 20 years that I spent in K-12 education was probably one of the best opportunities to professionally develop myself, to be able to go into this business, simply because you have to have this understanding of educational dynamics. So I've had the pleasure to serve as a principal. I've been a school administrator, and I've also been a state administrator. And when you're looking at all of the different data, the demographics, trying to understand the needs of students and even the educators that are teaching them, that really translates into looking at customer insights. So we say in education a lot of times that you want to meet students where they are. And then as a principal, I wanted to make sure that my teachers were the best that they could be, given their specific skills, given their specific experience. And when you're looking at the market insights or the customer insights of your business, you're saying, what are their needs? What are their pain points? How can I serve this niche in a way that creates wonderful products and wonderful service, but also how do I elevate myself to really ensure that I'm listening to their needs and then providing them with something that's specifically going to help them either decrease the friction to solve that problem or get them closer to a solution. And then just simply with empathy and communication skills. I mean, you have students in your classroom, you have students in your school who come from literally all different walks of life. And being able to work with elementary school students, middle school students, and high school students, and really trying to understand what's that relationship point? How do I ensure that I can have a conversation with the star football player, but also have a conversation with the young lady who is in AP biology and wants to go on to a college or a university? You have to be able to bridge that gap and ensure that that athlete and that scholar are able to achieve their goals. And you have to be realistic about that and bringing community and their family together. And I think when you think about customer relations, you're not going to have a successful business if you can't build those strong relationships with customers. And that is from their initial onboarding with you. That's from the initial opportunity to market to them all the way to offboarding. And so when you think about empathy and you think about communication skills, the way I communicate with my team is different than the way that I would communicate with a potential client, because that narrative is different. And then last but not least, just really problem solving. There have been countless times as an educator, whether I was a classroom teacher or whether I was a principal, where you just are faced with an issue, and that issue may be coming from inside the school, or maybe because of external factors. Maybe you have an angry parent. Maybe the community is not backing you up. Maybe you have elected officials on your school board who want to see specific programs and initiatives. And I think the biggest thing for me as a woman of color leading my own business is coming from education and knowing that I had a voice and knowing that I had to elevate my voice in order to create that change. That translated really well into business, because when it comes to the way you show up in the marketplace, when it comes to the way you pitch yourself to clients, and when it comes from the way that you want to deliver that excellence, it's the same thing as having an amazing lesson plan. And that lesson just goes great. The students are getting it, they're engaged, they're asking questions. And that's the same kind of a flow that you want to be in when you're delivering a keynote. I'm a leadership coach, or when I'm working with a client. So there's all these essential skills that I got to develop in education that have translated beautifully over to entrepreneurship, and just really making sure that I keep my sights on my voice and helping people, other people, find theirs.
Thank you so much for that. We are going to move into our next set of questions. We're going to bring all of our panelists out at once, so y'all can kind of be in conversation with each other as we answer this next set of questions. And for our viewers watching, if you have any questions for specific panelists or for the whole group of panelists, feel free to throw them in the chat. We'll have a section for that in a little bit.
Alrighty, question number 1. How do you define success for yourself? And how long did it take you to feel successful in your business venture?
I'll go. I think for me, the success is still a moving target. It's a goal that it's always moving, because you can't get complacent in it. So it's something that I'm still figuring out myself. But for me, sometimes with success, it's like with the little things, like making a little movement, because things don't always happen all at once like you want them to. And so it's building blocks. So if you're like, oh, I want to start my own business, I want to be an entrepreneur, it's success can look at as, oh, I went and networked, I went to an event to get information for those things. So when you're in a business, it's the little things that you have to find that keep you going, because success is always moving. It's always changing of what that looks like. Once you get to one level of your business, success is going to look different if you want to keep moving and growing in that business. So I would say you have to have a personal sense of what you want that success to be, and not necessarily like outside, because success looks different for everybody. So you really have to figure it out for yourself. And for me, it's still a moving target. But also I take pride in like the little steps that I accomplish in doing things. So that could be, like I said, going to an event, or, oh, I wrote a business plan today, or I thought of something and did some research. So just little things that can also move you forward, for me, is success.
I'm just gonna go ahead.
No, I think that's great. Just to piggyback on that a little bit. Yes, setting goals, because it's easy to focus solely on your financial success and think, oh, I'm only succeeding if I'm financially successful. Well, there are so many other facets to running a business, like setting small goals, like, hey, I was able to get a bookkeeper to manage my finances, or hey, I was able to get into this pop-up or vendor event that I was looking to, or hey, I was able to connect with some other like-minded entrepreneurs. So I try and set goals so I don't get disappointed if maybe the financial side of things aren't doing good for 1 month, because with entrepreneurship, especially running an apparel business, there are going to be ebbs and flows constantly. So I had to remove the financial level of success and just focus on the small things like Nina mentioned. And know that it's not an overnight thing. Social media gets you thinking that everything is going to happen instantly. Just know that you have to put in the work in order for it to come to fruition. It's not going to happen overnight. So be patient. And if it's not working for you, pivot, but just be comfortable with pivoting.
I want to give my sisters like so many snaps right now, because what they both said is so true. When you think about the fact that you can have a goal in entrepreneurship, but sometimes that's like Siani said, that's not monetary. And sometimes you really do have to step back and pivot. So I think just to ensure that I'm going to continue to keep evolving while I'm chasing success, I just look at it as, did I handle this situation better today than I would have yesterday? Like, for instance, you can create a proposal. The first time somebody rejected one of my proposals, you would have thought they had talked about my mother. Okay. But now I'm like, you know what? That's not my customer. And it just slides off my back. So you really have to, I heard a quote that said entrepreneurship is the best personal development plan disguised as a business. And when you're better, you flow better. And so I think that that's what I measure success as, is, am I doing better today than I would have a week ago, a month ago, a year ago?
If I can, I want to hop in on that too, like, because something happened to me today that kind of speaks to One of the metrics that I use for success, not long ago, there was a person who I did a business transaction with that wasn't, it didn't work out. And eventually it just led to us, well, me personally deciding that that's not someone that, I'd like to do business with in the future. But even throughout the entire, process, I just stayed integral and made sure that I didn't, allow my emotions to get, caught up in, our transaction. It turns out that that person actually was a conduit for an opportunity that came to me today with a major entertainment company, that they literally used my name and spoke to someone else, and that led to me having an opportunity that is going to lead to a bag. So for me, that's one of the metrics that I use is my name clean. Like, even with people that it didn't work out necessarily favorable, do they still speak well of me, or speak, say that I'm consistent and, I'm a man of my word, and, I actually do work. So that's for me.
That's dope. Like to echo to what Brother Jay Black had mentioned. For me, success is the ability to say no, to be able to walk away from things too, to be able to have the capacity to not accept everything that's thrown your way. Also from a financial standpoint, like as far as scaling up even your business and stuff like that, your organization, whether it be a for-profit or nonprofit, being able to sort of have an independent way of moving. So it could be something from, like, for example, right? Some of our staff members, I've been building with them for years, right? They're contractors. I actually like having 1099s because I don't really like to police, especially people that I trust, like how I pay them like every 2 weeks. If your worth is $60,000 and we've been building together, then you'll get a check for $60,000, or we'll do maybe half of it first semester, second half next semester. But the point is that we have the opportunity to distinguish and handle the money the way we need to handle it as far as getting the work done for our contractors. So for me, I view success in that way, in connection to, again, full ownership and full independence of how you want to sort of run your organization, right? From a staff member scaling up standpoint. But overall, just the point I mentioned about being able to also walk away and say no, right? I mean, that's come up a lot, whether it be me partnering with different school districts. And I know that this principal at the school district may try to control our organization and water it down, and I don't want to do that. So I'll say, no, thank you. I don't think it's a good partnership. I'd rather go partner with Kennedy High School Richmond as opposed to going over here, But that, to me, that's part of success.
Yeah, I can definitely want to echo what a lot of people have said. I think for me specifically, defining success looked like for me was understanding what my competitive advantage was first. I think we all have different gifts. So once you really understand like what you're really great at, go for it, right? So that was a start for me in terms of the competitive advantage. And then two is really just understanding what leverage is. As you get into business, you learn more about leverage. You learn more about how other cultures are doing that, or how they're working together to leverage their own opportunities. So those were two big things for me personally.
Thank you all so much for sharing. We have another question for you. Is it important for you to hire Black people to work for you? And if so, where do you find Black talent?
Oh, I want to answer that. If I'll say something real quick. Yes, it's important for me to hire Black people and to find Black talent. Specifically inside the entertainment industry, there's a huge disparity of Black folks that work behind the camera or work behind the scenes. It's easy to recognize that we're talented and we're the athletes, the artists, and the actors and actresses in front of the camera, but the ones behind the camera, there's not a lot of us back there, and those are the ones typically that make the most money and control whatever narratives are being projected from the screen or even in sports. So for me, I'm intentional about discovering who are my colleagues that are Black, not just for the sake because they're Black, but I also try to keen in on who's culturally Black, because a lot of people that work in entertainment, they may have the skin color, but they're not culturally Black, and so they don't understand Black things. They don't, they don't know the lingo. They don't know wherever they're from, they don't, that's not their culture. And so unfortunately, sometimes they represent Black people just on the strength of what they look like. And so if there's an opportunity for, Black things to be represented, if they're inside of a company with influence and money is there, they're going to pick that person, and they may not even know the Black experience. So I'm intentional about finding other, folks that, have a culturally Black experience, and we know who they are. We connect the dot. It's just, you can find out who that person is just based on, simple questions or, simple things. Like if, in entertainment right now, if you're a Black person and, you don't know about the, K Dot and Drake beef, then I'm questioning your, existence in music or entertainment at large. Like, are you really Black? Not like that, but are you culturally Black, I should say. And then another way that I find young Black talent is being intentional about staying connected in the academic and education sectors. Like, I went to undergraduate school and graduate school, and oftentimes you find a lot of people in entertainment, they just assume that education is not important, but it's vitally important, whether you are in front of the camera or behind the camera, to be involved and to pursue education to the highest that is called for you or aligned for you, because most of the times, when it comes to really making money and being able to be gainfully employed inside of entertainment, you got to know how to work in fast-paced environments, know how to be a stickler with time management. You have to have some sense of financial literacy. You have to be very detail-oriented and task-oriented and stick to deadlines and timelines. And depending on your, if you really want to move forward and, be a boss in this space, you got to be able to hold people accountable to do those specific things as well. So.
I'll say it's been an absolute priority for me to be able to hire Black business owners, simply because when it comes to the programming and the exposure that we've had about money, I think that entrepreneurship is single-handedly one of the ways that we can start to break these cycles. And I had a mentor a couple of years ago, so I've been in business 5 years now. And when I first started and I was setting up, he said to me that when it comes to money in specific communities, that a dollar will literally circulate in the Asian community for 28 days. It'll circulate in a Jewish community for 19 days. I think it was 17 days in the white community and maybe 4 to 6 hours in the Black community. That's how long our money will stay with us. If we're going to break the cycle, then we have to be intentional about connecting with other business owners so that we can create loops that keep the dollar where the talent and the gifts and the purpose are. And honestly, I will say right now, 50% of my team are Gen Z. Why? Because they get it. Because I don't have to really think about what do I need to do to deprogram whatever systemic model this person has ascribed to when it comes to pay me what I'm worth. I make sure I pay them what they're worth. And I also am leaning into this double mentorship because, for instance, I have a young lady who writes for our newsletter. We have a monthly newsletter. She's Gen Z. She is 21 years old. She's a sophomore. I think she's at the University of, I think she's at UCLA. And when we talk, I'm leaning in and I'm listening because she has so much to share about the current market, about trends, about how we can connect our brand to engaging potential clients and customers. And I'm going to engage her and I'm going to invest in her before I invest in somebody who, one, may have their own agenda, or two, love what Jay Black just said, doesn't culturally understand what it is that we're trying to do in our company. So I'm absolutely going to continue asking for referrals and leads on positive women of color, positive men of color who I can do business with. And I keep a digital Rolodex. If I have a great experience with somebody, they deliver amazing customer service and they do it with excellence, you're going to stay not only in my digital Rolodex, but I'm going to speak your name in rooms your feet haven't been in, because that's how we continue to grow Black business in America.
I wanted to give a little piece on that also. I'm coming in a little different because I don't have any employees, but what I do have are 5 children, and I'm raising 4 boys. And so my goal is to get them set up and with the family business and to keep the legacy going so that we can have a family business for multiple generations. I'm trying to be like Beyonce, have a lot of Black children on that Forbes list, and that to me, that is the goal, that is success. Like what I'm doing now, that's pivotal, and I can't say it, but in getting them to move forward and seeing their worth and being um contributing to society in a different way that isn't always given to us, whereas we go to school and we're taught to work for somebody else. Like I went to school, I have 3 degrees, I have my master's in social work, and the main goal was to get a job and to be making 60 to 80,000 a year. When I was in school, that was good money, not so much anymore. But the goal for me is to make sure that this legacy that I'm building, it goes on for generations, and so that we can have businesses where our dollar, like Dr. Mary was saying, can circulate in our community, and we can have more people who look like us that are out there and showing other people, like who don't see it all the time, that we are there, we do start these things, we can expand and bring in family and make a legacy for these and build a legacy. I'm sorry, I'm kind of losing my train of thought here, but my main goal is to make sure that my children are equipped to handle the business so that they can move forward and we can continue the legacy and that the business continues.
Love that. Thank you all for your answers. All right. Next question we have: how have stereotypes like Black people not managing money properly? Sorry, this is worded weird on my paper. What do you think of the stereotypes of Black people not being able to properly manage money?
I think people in general don't know how to manage money, not just Black folks. Like, as someone like for undergrad, I went to a PWI, predominantly white institution, and having spent time with my white friends and Latino friends, just different race ethnicities, I discovered like, wait a minute, Black folks, it's a lot of stuff they put on us that everybody shares. We all have it. It just looks different. So I think money management is something that we all, as just the human race, struggle with. And if I'll be honest, in my personal experience, I found that a lot of the folks that I do know that have high credit scores, impeccable savings, and are very disciplined as it pertains to finance personally, are Black folks, and not just older but even younger. Now I got some guys that are younger than me right now, and they're so dedicated and disciplined with their finances, and they work in different industries. But so for me, I never really took that to heart. I look at it just like the stigma or the stereotype that Black folks is lazy. It's just not true.
And I can touch on that too. I think it's very stereotypical to think that way because that's what they show. They show, people spending money on frivolous things, people, spending all of their what do you call the tax return money on frivolous things, but that's not the majority of us. I have looking personally, I have one parent who was very fiscally smart and who set her family up for the future, and then another one that was not. So it was a struggle for myself to figure out which one I was going to lean towards. But overall, in this country, being fiscally smart, having a great credit score is very important, and you can't do many things without that. And also wanting to just create and leave generational wealth for futures to come is what's really important. So don't pay attention to those stereotypes. There are people, Black people, and like Jay Black said, there are people of all nationalities that are poor money managers and those that are not. So I don't let that bother me. I do what works best for myself and my family.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think the stereotype is stupid. I mean, I don't think it's really a racial thing. It's more of a class thing. If people are coming from a low income background, they come from poverty in general, and it's just, stuff that's been passed down generation to generation. And of course, they may have more barriers to understanding how to, navigate around wealth and credit and things like that. So if you're dealing with low income Black people, then you may find some of those low income Black folks who come from I'm from the hood too. So I've dealt with that too growing up. But it wasn't because I was Black. It's because, well, I grew up on Section 8. This is sort of a background I grew up into. So I have to learn other things as far as credit and financial literacy and things like that, right? But what I'm making, though, is that it's never been a Black thing. The idea that it's a Black thing is stupid. It's more of a class thing. And as the folks here just shared, that goes for everybody, right? Low income white folks, low income Asian folks, low income all the folks, right? If they come from a low income background, then they may have some issues navigating around financial literacy until they're taught it.
Yeah, I'd say for me personally, I wouldn't say it's a Black thing either, but I think as I've gotten older, I think there is a level of trauma that we've had to remove from our parents, right? Like, I think there's an aspect of our parents looking at things one way, and then for us, we may see that and think, oh, well, that's my parents, that's the right way, but that might not necessarily have always been the best way. So one example of that is debt. I know for my mom, my dad, they always talked about debt being a bad thing. You don't want to go in debt. But as I've learned more about business, learned more about real estate, a lot of people use debt as leverage to get ahead, right? So I wouldn't say that it's all just, a Black thing or cultural thing, but I do think there's an aspect of things that you have to learn and grow as you get older. So.
Thank you all for that. I'm going to move into a question that we got from the chat. For all the panelists, can you talk about how you have to be innovative to keep your business moving financially when there are lulls in the business, maybe from clients and or funders?
I think Jay Black hit on that too, when talking about how to work well in the entertainment industry. You have to be innovative. You have to stay in the know about things that are going on. There can be someone else that is doing the exact same thing as you, but what makes you unique is you. So you have to make sure that you add your personality and add your own creative touch to things so you stand out, and also put some work behind that and make sure that the product or the service that you are putting out to the public is one that you stand on and one that people can, like other panelists have said today, is share and talk about you when you're not in that space. So just briefly, that's one way that I definitely keep my brand innovative.
In a nonprofit world, so in this sort of world, we're delivering like a free service, right, to in our case, the customers, the students, or we're getting funding, right, from donors, right? You got to raise funding. So as far as that regard, I think that the way you stay, innovative is finding multiple ways to bring in funding, right? Whether it be writing grants, whether it be throwing your own fundraisers yourself, whether it be just getting donations from community members. But for me, in our organization, our team, the big thing too is just being true to the culture, right? So, in knock on wood, and through the grace of God, this hasn't happened. We've continued to scale up each year, but I kind of have I don't give a fuck mentality too, and I don't know if that's like a defense mechanism or something like that, but it's like this mentality of, what, this is a Black organization that works with young Black males, young Black females. We got real close connections and relationships with each other, the parents, the families. So we mob it and we rock it regardless if money's here or not, and what that means for us is that there's something that we're standing on that keeps people showing up that is beyond us having funding, right? And I think that because we've had that mentality, somehow the funding is continuing to pour in. So to be straightforward though, right? Of course, multiple funding streams, right? Getting out there, hustling, putting your boots to the ground, right? Being in people's faces, right? Even the grants. I actually hate applying for huge grants because it's just such a bureaucracy. Most of our grants come from like foundations and family donors and things like that. But you know what? To continue to grow this organization, we have to force ourselves to do some of those things to get out there. So that's part of it too, is sometimes doing the things that you might not necessarily want to do, but you're sacrificing because you got youth and families who you're looking out of. But also ground yourself in something deeper, right? Something that's to the culture. So that way you stay grounded. If maybe you do have, maybe it's getting close to the end of the school year, you haven't scaled up to your budget that you had last year. You don't panic. You got to keep rolling with the punches and continue to take care of the business.
I think to add to what Dr. Ish said, the same man with Sienna. I hope I didn't butcher that. Sick clothing. But you definitely have to make sure that you look at, you pay attention and you observe in whatever industry you're in, look and see what ways, customers are spending their money or people are spending their money. And then figure out what's one way that, there's not a lot of people in this area. Not a lot of stuff is happening right here. I think as it pertains to, with that specific question, I always think of how for years, Dunkin' Donuts was the #1 coffee selling, company in the United States, even above Starbucks. That's why they put the coffee cup on their logo and not a donut. And for me, that just, essentially, it's this idea of, and I heard one of the executives talking about, they said, well, not too many people eat donuts, but more people drink coffee than they do eat donuts. But if we can monopolize the donut space, then everybody always pairs coffee with a donut. So they just figure out how to reach their end game where they go in a different and innovative and creative way. So, but by to shorten my answer, you just got to pay attention and be very observant and make sure that when the opportunity presents itself, that you strike and that you don't wait. Because ideas happen every day, and if it's something that you got to be diligent to move on it. If not, it'll pop up and you'll have missed your opportunity.
To chime in here, just going back to the question, I think one thing that's really helped me was just decluttering my social media. For me, that helped. That was a tremendous thing for me. So I have a social media account that's just on people that are in my industry, business, resources, places that might be giving out grants. So for example, this week, I came across an article based off of a person I was following on social media that talked about Atlanta is giving out $55 million in grants for affordable housing. You just have to go into a number of different seminars. And then once you do the seminars, you can actually apply. And then you can get up to $1 million just for that project. So, we're probably all on social media. There's people that you can follow and you might see anything, what people are doing last night. I don't care what that might look like, whatever, right? But if you give yourself a chance to really declutter and really see like, hey, I just want to take a few minutes to just learn. You'd be really surprised what happens when you declutter that. So that helped me a lot, just being able to just read and focus on things that are in my industry. And I came across some good things just by doing that. So that helped me a lot personally.
I'll say, I think when you think about being innovative when there's a lull, one of the steps that I've tried to implement is being innovative before that lull happens. And that has really caused me to have to invest in really good people. And I remember 2 years ago, my CPA asked me a question that just changed how I looked at how I ran the business when she said, if I were to take your biggest retainers and your biggest clients away tomorrow, do you have a backup plan? She said, because you have to plan and you have to work as if those big ticket contracts aren't a part of the equation. And that way you're always ready to step into plan B. And that's, one of our team's motto is that we don't get ready, we stay ready. And then a couple years ago, with everything going on with the pandemic and whatnot, we really had to get innovative. And we asked ourselves, my mentor, she actually asked me this question, but then I posed it to our team. She was like, are you serving or are you selling? She said, because if you're really serving, then those clients, those opportunities are going to find you. And so that was the year we implemented our volunteer day, where everybody on our team picks a cause or a purpose or an initiative in our community. And we spend the entire day just volunteering, whether that is reading to children, whether that is going and helping elderly individuals like with tech, whatnot, what have you. Literally, because we were volunteering in our conversation and people asking like, where are y'all from and what do you do? We got a contract from the volunteer opportunity because we showed up in that way. So I think sometimes you have to be willing to like look at your business and say, do I need to take a step back and just really pour into another area? And you'll be so surprised at like what blessings come, what opportunities come just because you stayed true to the purpose of why you're doing this.
All right, thank you, panelists, so much for all of your gems that y'all have been dropping tonight. We only have about 4 minutes left, and so I want to leave space for us to do appreciations, which is something we do as AASP at the end of all our workshops, where we just give space for our viewers and for you as panelists to appreciate someone in the space for something they said, appreciate yourself. And we would also love for y'all to, if anyone has any like parting advice for our students who are interested in becoming entrepreneurs. Yeah.
I would say like parting words would be definitely not to limit yourself. Be very open to new experiences, new ideas, going forward in life. Like for instance, for me, I went to college and I got all these degrees, and that's great, but I am not working in that field at all. Now I am using skills that I learned from those experiences, but I still had to be open to pivoting and doing something else. So I would say don't limit yourself. Don't I'm sorry, a comment came up and it threw me off. Don't limit yourself, be open to new experiences. Um and don't let pride get in the way. That can be a big thing when you're going into new spaces. You know, you might sometimes feel that like for instance, um sometimes I have to go into a space and it's like, okay, I think I might know something in learning marketing or new media things, but I have to go into these spaces with a fresh mind, so not to limit yourself and just be open to new experiences and pivoting if things aren't really working out, but still keeping the main goal in mind.
Yeah, I'll hop in there. First of all, I want to say thank you, Sinclair and Dio. You guys did an amazing job. Um, this was great. But, to Nina's point, absolutely for me, um, remember that every industry is ruled by relationships. Your network is always going to be larger than your net worth. And be intentional about taking advantage of even something like college. If it's your path to go to college, um, you know, don't wait until you graduate to start your business. Start to formulate there. Like, give yourself the opportunity to, align with other people that are like-minded and, build your company right, in college. It's never too early to start, and it's never too late to start. So, thank you.
Look, I know the young generation, y'all about a bag. I know y'all want to get to that bag. Get to the bag for sure, but also understand this, that your youth is your power, right? So good old fashioned hard work and sacrificing right now is really the big thing for y'all. So be okay with not, like, if you're not making money right now, but you have a passion and a vision, keep rolling with it. It's okay if you ain't getting the money now, but if you stay dedicated, you keep pushing, you keep the foot on the pedal, all the success and the things that you're aspiring to accomplish will come with just good old fashioned hard work. And I want to give a shout out also to Sinclair and Dale. I believe one of y'all, I think Dale, what are you, like a sophomore or junior in high school? I believe so, right? man, this is leadership. The fact that you hosting this, you know, as a high school student, so that's good shit, brother. And also Sinclair, great work on both of y'all behalf.
Yeah, I'd echo some of the same sentiments I would just shared. While you're young, try things now. It's a lot easier to fall while you're young, right? I'd say that's number one. But two, in terms of who you associate yourself with, I'd say a big thing here is try to associate yourself with people that solve problems, right? Not create problems. That's a huge, huge, huge thing. And then I'd say second is just people who might be smarter than you, right? Like you might realize that you're really good in one particular area. You might not be good at everything, but if you associate yourself with people that you respect because they think, you all can find that you're all creative at different things and you can be strong where the other person might be weak. So that's the feedback that I'd share personally.
I want to just, I think there have been some great gems. Thank you again for having me. One parting note I want to say, don't let your friends or family discourage you from doing something that you know you truly have a passion for and that you want to explore.
And I just really appreciate both Sinclair and Deo and all the panelists. I've been over here taking notes. So thank you all so much. I think the one thing I'll just leave you with is to absolutely have a plan. Have a plan about the direction you want to go in. Have a plan about the industry you want to land in, all of that. But still leave space for the plan to change. Because if you can create that space to pivot, and if you are seamless in that pivot when life happens, because life will happen, you will find that entrepreneurship is a lot more enjoyable if you can lean into the pivot.
All right, I think that was everyone. Thank you so much, panelists, once again for being here tonight and spending time with us. Thank you, Dio, for being our student moderator tonight. And then also huge shout out to Colleen. She's not on the screen right now, but for our entire Life After High School series, she's been in the background doing all the techie stuff that you see with the banners and everything. So huge shout out to her as well. Thank you all for coming to our final Life After High School panel. And I hope everyone has a good night.